want to say something about the Frederick Police Department. That's right, people. I'm talking about you, Frederick Police. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Especially you undercover guys. I got one complaint about you Frederick Police people. Now, the county sheriff's department, they always have donuts. You have failed me. No donuts. What's going on here? You know, I haven't seen a crowd this size since I was at the Golden Corral parking lot on Easter. So, thank you for putting up the rain. Thank you for everything. I want to thank Michelle Bowman from the police department, and honest to God, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to all the men and women of the police departments, no matter what police department it is. Is Chuck Jenkins behind me? What's going on here? Okay, just making sure. Now, I want to set the tone right off the bat. Were you in the Navy? No, don't go there. I got good things on that. Let me set the tone right now by a signal of applause. How many racists we have in the audience? Let me by an applause. Any racists? Please applaud. Okay. Anybody filled with hate? Raise your hand. Well, I'm sorry. I read there's be a lot of haters here, and there's nobody here. I think I know why you're here. Because you live in Frederick County, Frederick City, and I'm telling you, I'm a transplant to this area. I moved up here in 2001 from, of all God places, Bethesda. Bethesda. When I first saw the city of Frederick in 1994, I drove up here on a trip, and I swear to God, it reminded me of a wonderful life. Jimmy Stewart could refilm that movie right here. This is a wonderful community. I love this place. I do. It really is. And if you walk down Market Street on Monday or Wednesday, you'll see my skinny body sitting in the tasting room window looking at you. I love this town. I know you do too. Now, about a month and a half ago, I went before the county commissioners because they were talking about 287G. That's why we're here today. We're here to talk about 287G. We're not here to trash anybody. That's not what we're here. We have all kinds of folks that live with us. They're Americans just like we are. My neighbor is Turkish and he has a German wife. You want to talk about an incredible argument behind your last guys? My other neighbor is of Chinese descent. So I don't want to hear any stories about we hate immigrants, we hate this, we hate that. That's not true. That's not true at all. I don't like the smear, and I also don't like what people who don't want 287G are trying to do. They're trying to smear you. They're trying to smear Chuck Jenkins with the standard, oh, you were racist. That's why you want 287G. Well, let me give you a little analogy here. This is what I told the board in Frederick County. I said, imagine that Frederick is a giant pool. We're all in the pool swimming. Some of you have your plastic ducks. You get your beer. And all of a sudden, somebody in the county says, you know, I think we'll make it interesting. I'm going to release some white sharks into the pool. How do you like that? Well, I'll tell you what, I don't like that. And that's exactly what 287G is all about. It's not about discriminating against immigrants because we're all immigrants. We've had people here, we're going to have a couple of speakers who are immigrants. They did it the right way. They did it the hard way. Now what 287G is all about, it's real simple. Just cut through all the BS. It's about if somebody pulls somebody over, they want to check on them, it turns out they've got warrants on them. Isn't it common sense? Well, once you've got warrants, well, let's pick them up, let's tell ICE, let's cooperate with our federal government. It's all for our protection. It really is. Now, last week you may have heard about Fairfax County. A policeman there did his duty. He pulled somebody over, didn't have a driver's license, didn't have anything, and he had warrants. This officer did his duty, turned him in, and what was he rewarded for that? He got suspended. Well, there was some blowback on that, and he was back on duty in about a day. Don't let that happen to this county. That's why we're asking you to be here. There are people in the county that want to turn this place into a sanctuary county. Now, you can sit at home and watch football, you can sit at home and let somebody else carry the weight, but I'm not doing that. And I know you're not either, because that's why you're sitting in the rain waiting to listen to our speakers. those high notes like he used to. So I'd like to bring up a pro. If you would, put your hands together. She's going to sing the national anthem. Before we do that, black people, you holding up okay? Because we got to have you hang on at least for the national anthem. Please, a nice warm welcome. Hey, don't put your hand over your heart yet. I'm not done. Hold on. It's the heart, not your zipper, that brings it up. Okay. If you can, let's bring up Debbie Williams, who will now sing the national anthem. Debbie?
Coast Guard. Anybody with the Coast Guard here? We want to honor you too. Thank you so much. All right, listen, I need you all to help me out here. We had several people I told earlier that was afraid to come up here and sing. I'm never afraid to sing and give God the glory on this beautiful day. So you got to help me with this song, okay? You ready? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming through the bright stars through the you make me proud over the ramparts we watched where so gallantly streaming and the rockets red glare the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free, yes, and the home of the brave. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you want to sit down in that cold seat, that wet seat. I'm going to ask you to stand up one more time. No, that was funny. What we're going to do right now is a Pledge of Allegiance. You remember being in grade school in the old days when you said the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's do it right now. You ready? Flag people, less talking, more holding. Oh, you're going to lead the pledge? Well, I'll hold the flag. I can do something here. I'll hold the flag for you. Tell you how proud we are to look out here and see you people sitting in the rain for a great cause. So I think let's have a nice round of applause for yourselves, because you really do care. Thank you so much. All right, let's get this thing going. Our next speaker is Dan Stein. He's an attorney who's worked for more than 35 years in the field of immigration law. The Stein family is here. Thank you. He's been in his present position as president of the Federation of American Immigration Reform, called FAIR, since January 2003. Prior to leading FAIR, Mr. Stein was the executive director of the Immigration Reform Law Institute, a public interest litigation group that has represented a variety of organizations in immigration and administrative law matters. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dan to the podium.
Thank you very much. I am very pleased to be here. Frederick County is a truly wonderful place to be. And I have been coming up here all my life. It truly is a marvelous town, a place represented by one of the nation's most effective, respected, and capable sheriffs, Sheriff Chuck Jenkins. Largest and most respected national public policy organization working on U.S. immigration policy. Today, I've been working on this issue myself nearly 40 years. And I have watched, state by state, they have worked to undermine the federal government's ability to enforce ICE detainers. Litigation brought by the ACLU and the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund is part of an overarching political strategy. Frederick County Democratic Organization did not want me to speak here today. Why? Because they're fearful that you might hear the truth about the consequences of what they support. They don't want you to hear the reality of the people who have lost their lives needlessly in this country, their loved ones, everything they hold dear, because county officials, state officials refuse to honor ICE detainers. It's part of an overall strategy that attempts to shut down people who represent common sense principles that undergird the whole operation of the nation's immigration control system. Why? Because in essence, they want to destroy it. Because they simply don't know right from wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a federal republic that is a nation of laws. Laws that are enacted at the federal level by our Congress of the United States. Individual states are part of the federal system, and while states run their own health and safety operations, they must run those operations in a manner consistent with overarching federal law, helping the federal government to enforce immigration law by honoring detainer requests and rights to pick up removable criminal alien is simply good common sense. Some opportunistic politicians are forgetting why people want to come to this country. Why do immigrants from all over the world want to come? Why do hundreds of millions of people want to live here? Because they believe the United States is a place that works. That if you play by the rules, work hard, and get ahead, you have a shot to live the American dream. It is not a place where cheaters can game the system, cut in line, and get ahead. When people enter the United States illegally, they are jumping in front of line in front of tens of millions of people waiting patiently, respecting our borders and respecting our laws and respecting our nation. They are not some privileged special class that has a right to cheat and game the system. And yet many politicians are treating them that way solely for political advantage. It is part of the ethic that respect for law is a cornerstone of American citizenship. Part of that ethic, our community's work as a part of an overarching federal scheme to ensure that actions in states or counties are not undermining federal border control objectives. Non-cooperation policies, that is, policies that don't honor detainers, reward and encourage lawbreakers by virtually guarantee that innocent Americans, and yes, legal immigrants too, will become needless victims of crime. It is neither ethical nor fair. Sanctuary or non-cooperation policies mean that many jurisdictions are not doing their part to honor requests from ICE to hold aliens until they can be picked up for removal proceedings. That means that counties such as neighboring Montgomery County are allowing criminal aliens to go free rather than ensure they are placed in federal custody. You do not want to go down the path of Montgomery or Prince George's County. Sexual offenses related matters involving criminal removable aliens, mostly involving minor women, minor girls, in a 3-month period, because the county will not respect and honor ICE detainers. I have including those of my neighbors in Montgomery County. They're here today. You're going to hear from Arlene a little bit later. Who have lost loved ones, their children at the hands of removable aliens that the county refused to hold. Look, Paul Ehrlich, County Council, they are so arrogant when you go and talk to them about what has happened here. The Montgomery County Council has said to Americans who disagree with the sanctuary policy, people who may be descendants of people who fought in the War of Independence or fought in the Civil War or fought in the First or Second World, generation after generation of Americans, they call them neo-Nazi sympathizers and basically in favor of illegal aliens with no right to be in the United States. How can you do such a thing? Jenkins of Frederick County. Sheriff Jenkins has fought for responsible immigration enforcement assistance programs year after year after year against fierce opposition that is mounting. My congressman, what's his name, Jamie Raskin, he's over at the other rally. What is he doing up here? It's tough. Anyway, Sheriff Jenkins has earned the admiration of a nation in his battle to keep these cooperative agreements, 287G agreements, in place. He deserves. There's help to keep Frederick County a very safe place indeed. And you know, Congress passed these laws, 287G, and other statutes designed to promote exactly the kind of cooperation that Sheriff Jenkins is supporting. Congress, when it has spoken, has said this is what we want to have happen. Congress has also explicitly said counties and states may not prohibit state and local officials from communicating with immigration officials under any conditions. So what happened in Fairfax County was illegal. These non-cooperation policies are technically illegal under the federal immigration law. So if you want your county to remain safe, then I ask you to stand with and support Sheriff Jenkins in his bold and firm stand in defense of what is right to honor ICE detainers. Communicate with all immigrants that respect for law is the cornerstone of citizenship. And that by ensuring criminal aliens are put in removal proceedings, everyone, recent immigrants, longtime citizens alike, are safer and more secure at home. We don't want to have to bury another loved one at the hands of a deportable alien that should have been removed. We stand behind you, Sheriff Jenkins. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Now you can stand up for that. That was 100%. I couldn't have done that better. Wow. I gotta follow that? I feel like Pee Wee Herman all of a sudden. Listen, before we bring up our next speaker, I want to just tell you a quick little story about Chuck Jenkins. I worked for TOP for about 10 years, and I'll never forget they assigned Frederick to me. So the first time I met Chuck Jenkins, I remember going into his office, and I swear to God, this is what I thought. He's the spitting image of Spencer Tracy. Honest to God, look at this guy. I got Spencer Tracy over here. Unbelievable. I'm going to tell you something else, too. Chuck Jenkins is the gold standard of law enforcement. Chuck, are you sure you want an extra in that Spencer Tracy movie with Robert Young? You look just like him. Let's bring up our next speaker, shall we? Mr. Cheng, too, is a small business owner and legal immigrant living in Maryland for 24 years. You can cheer. Got a big family, Mr. Chu. Whoa. He proudly became a
deterioration of the public education quality, increase in violent crimes, tax hikes for homeowners in Montgomery County in the last 10 years. Mr. Tu is the inaugural and immediate past chair of the Maryland Chinese American Network Political Action Committee. The organization rallied the Asian American community members and worked with other concerned citizens to block Maryland's sanctuary bills. We'll pause for applause on that one. Where are you?
Thank you.
Oh, there you are. Love that. Mr. Tu is, and a group of Asian Americans visited the 287 program in Frederick County. After the visit, all people in the group wanted Montgomery County to have the same program. He'll share his point of view as a legal immigrant. And by the way, this is an interesting story he's going to share with you. Because you don't need a news guy to filter it and decipher it for you. You can hear it straight from Mr. Tu's mouth. And let's give him a nice round. Mr. Tu?
Thank you. Taking off the glasses actually disclosed the age I have, so well kept a secret, but not secret. Good afternoon, Frederick County. Thank you, Sheriff Jenkins, for inviting me here. You are my hero. And you are the backbone of this country. People like you make this country so beautiful and attractive to people like me, wanting to build our families and have our future in America. I thought my political activism in life was well done after I demonstrated together with other Chinese college students 30 years ago in Tiananmen Square. Oh boy, I was so wrong. In January 2017, some knuckleheads in Annapolis started to push the sanctuary Maryland bill called Trust Act. The bill was so dangerous that many legal immigrants decided to go to Annapolis to testify against the bills. Imagine this. We used English, which is not our mother tongue, to testify against the political majority in public for the very first time in our lives. An Asian American state senator even confronted and yelled at us at the hearing room right before the hearing started because we didn't agree with her. We waited for 9 hours for our turn to speak for 3 minutes each. I still remember that our last testimony went past midnight and began with a good morning. I am so proud of our community. We got to know Sheriff Jenkins at the event, and we quickly became his fan ever since. I have lived in Montgomery County for 22 years. Illegal immigration has caused tremendous damage to Montgomery County, the county I called home, the county I raised my 2 kids. The hard-working taxpayers pay for the price when the reckless local politicians kept their power. We had 10% property tax increase 3 years ago, and the county is short of money again this year. Montgomery County is all Democrat politicians borrowing money like crazy. and we're likely to increase tax again to fill the budget gap this year. My children go to ever-crowded and aging school with many trailer classrooms because MCPS spend my money and our money building new schools to host explosive student population increase brought by the illegal aliens. MCPS academic performance dropped from the top to number 6 in the state of Maryland. Crime rate, especially serious crime such as murder and rape, shot up. All these changes happened in the last 10 short years. So Frederick County people, you should be very concerned if you don't support Sheriff Jenkins. I envy the 287G program in Frederick County. It protects the law-abiding residents' safety while not costing the county taxpayer a dime. I can't think of one reason for local law enforcement not to work with the federal immigration police. We pay taxes to both levels of government and expect that they work together to protect us efficiently and effectively. Before I went to testify against the Trust Act in 2017, some of my friends on the left side in the Asian American community dissuaded me not to go, not to get involved, even though they were worried about illegal immigration too. They said, "Chad, this is not our fight." And I told them, this is our fight, because this is American people's fight. We Americans all have sworn duties to fight for this country and fight for our children's future. Today, I brought my teenage daughter here today. Want her to know that her daddy is fighting hard. Chelsea, you want to stand up? I don't know. 15 years old, sophomore in high school. I fight hard so that her generation and the generation after hers can still have the prosperity. And America could preserve the liberty and justice that our founding fathers and the generation after them risked their lives to build. This is why I came here to tell you that legal immigrants strongly support 287G program.
Yeah, you can stand up for Mr. Two. Yeah. Thank you. You know something, folks? This is what it's all about in America. You get a guy like Mr. Two, he's been for 24 years, and he's not sitting home watching football. He's doing something about it. And that's what you folks got to do too. It's got to be more than to sit here with signs. You got to go home today and tomorrow and call your representative. Tell them what you think. They do listen. If they get enough calls, believe me, they'll understand what's going on. Because you don't want to play Russian roulette with your children or your family. And that's exactly what they're doing in Montgomery County. You got people driving around without a driver's license. You want to get that call at night saying your daughter's dead because some illegal alien who didn't have a driver's license, much less insurance, killed your daughter. Now is the time to start talking, not after the fact. Call your representative. If you don't know who they are, find out. We got this thing called the internet. All right? So, let's bring up our next speaker. Now, what's so potent about this afternoon, we're going to hear some angel mothers. And I got to tell you, I feel for them. I don't know what they've been through. There's no way I could know what they're going through, but they're going to tell their story. And listen carefully, because this could happen to you. This is why it's so important to leave this function today. Get off your keister, make that phone call, get in people's faces, because they think we're the minority. And I got a news flash, we're not. We really are. Let's bring, no, you know. And for those of you, I had a couple of people come up to me and said, where is the Jamie Raskin hair combing contest? I said, you got the wrong event. That's across town. Anyway, let's bring up our next speaker. Sue Payne is the state Maryland coordinator for the Remembrance Project, White House media representative. Sue's been working on the issue of legal immigration for over 20 years. Sue, come on up. Don't let the applause run out before she gets here, okay?
They said I have to almost put the mic right up here, but I've never been told before that I'm too quiet. So I want to thank the sheriff. I love you so much. I want to thank him, thank Mr. Bowman. I also want to thank representatives from Annapolis that I see here, Delegate Pippi, Delegate Cox, Delegate Huff. I testified in Annapolis before them many times. The committee only gives us 3 minutes, and sometimes they make it down to 2 minutes. These guys will ask us questions so we can continue to talk and continue to make our case and help every one of you defeat this Democrat agenda that has basically served up the citizenry in this state as a burnt offering to the altar of illegal immigration. Montgomery County, and you've heard some other folks about it. I coined it when I had my radio show. I call it Moco Loco. I've lived there since '86. I've been fighting this battle with my friend Demos for over 20 years. We've been to Annapolis, we've done community organizing, and I fear for this state. I fear for what's happening to Frederick County. I think they're not learning the lessons of what's been happening in Montgomery County. And so I urge you to please save Frederick County before it's too late. I want to also say a couple other things. It is a proven fact, it's not speculation, that when a jurisdiction, when the law enforcement cooperates with ICE, those communities are safer. You only need to look at Montgomery County. And the county executive down there is not Paul Elrich, it's Mark Elrich. So remember that name. I've known Mark for over 40 years. He's very confused on this issue, and I'm trying to bring him around. I also want to tell you that because of the sanctuary policy, Montgomery County now is known as Gangland Ground Zero. Don't let that happen to Frederick County. Don't let it happen. I also want to give you a couple more ideas. Number one, the sanctuary law that was passed in Montgomery County is illegal. And I am happy to announce today that Judicial Watch has taken on this investigation, and they are going to sue the county. I am also happy to announce today that Judicial Watch is investigating all of the illegal aliens that have been guilty of raping in Montgomery County and turned back into the streets, some raping children. Judicial Watch has taken that on too. Now I want to tell you a story about some of my neighbors, and they're going to come up here and speak in a second. When you have a sheriff like Jenkins who cooperates with ICE, people who are not only just illegally in the country, but illegal criminals are removed from the county. They are sent back have a president who cares about families. In 2015, there was a guy with the last name of Palacios who was arrested for some pretty bad crimes. And he was in custody, and ICE wanted him. They had a detainer. Montgomery County, pre this county executive, this was our police chief, Tom Manger, he would not hold them for ICE. So this guy was put back out in the community. In August of 2017, he was arrested again. And guess who sprung the money for his bail? Casa de Maryland, with tax dollars. Now, what happened 4 months later was Palacio was back out into the community, and he wasn't turned over to ICE, and he killed Marla Wolf's husband, Carlos Wolf, who was an illegal immigrant, an FBI agent, on 270 a couple of weeks before Christmas in 2017. 4 months after Montgomery County had this guy and refused to turn him over. He also killed Arlene Cohen's only child, Sandra Cohen, who was a fire marshal and state police officer. And Palacios got, I think Marlo's going to tell you, but he was only given a minimal fine. And it was back in the community. In August of this year, he went to Baltimore Immigration Court and tried to get his illegal status changed to refugee. Guess what? It didn't work. And I'm happy to say Judicial Watch is investigating Palacio. Now, all of you need to understand when I bring up these wonderful people, and Carlos Wolf's mother is here too, that if this amazingly ignorant county council you have here and county executive decides to end the 287G program, I go on record now that there are bigger and better places for this great sheriff to go right down the road in Washington, D.C. and represent all of us. It's an election year next year, and we don't want David Trone, and we don't want Jamie Raskin. We want a law and order person in Congress. Now, if you would please help me, Arlene Cohen, Marla Wolf, these are people who will be separated from their family members forever. So when you hear the other side saying, oh, you know, if this criminal is sent back to his country, it separates their family. Marla's children will never, ever see their father again. She will never see her husband. Carlos's mother won't see her son. And Arlene's only child has been separated from her for life. So please welcome Arlene Cohen, Marla Wolf, and Mrs. Wolf to the stage. They will tell you why we need 287G.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Wolf. I lost my son 22 months ago. This is the most horrible pain that a parent can go through. I can't describe the feeling I have every day. I live in pain. I feel in agony when I see all my rest of the family and I don't see my son, my lovely son Carlos. He was very smart boy, very faithful to this country. He exposed his life many times for this country. He was was a hero. But now he's not here anymore. Who's gonna help me now? I know Casa de Maryland is helping many Hispanic people, but who's gonna help me? I am an immigrant too. I belong to the Hispanic community, but unfortunately my son was killed by another person from my own community. Now I want to speak in Spanish because I know Casa de Maryland have people here, and my friend is gonna translate for me. Ustedes que piensan que todo esto es cosa de racismo,
To everyone that thinks that this is a racist issue,
es lo más ridículo que pueden pensar, porque yo misma soy emigrante.
it's the most ridiculous thing you can think of because I myself, I'm a Hispanic.
Ustedes piensan que todos están en contra de ustedes, que ustedes son las víctimas, pero nosotros somos las víctimas. Lo que pasa es que ustedes no quieren ver, no quieren escuchar, no quieren ver la realidad. Ustedes piensan que ustedes son las víctimas, pero nosotros somos las víctimas, víctimas de criminales ilegales en este país que no vinieron a contribuir a este país, sino a hacer cosas malas.
You think you're the victims, but I'm the victim. You know, I came here to build up this country, and not the illegals, bad illegals that are destroying it.
Yo llegué hace 30 años a Montgomery County.
I've been here from 30 years ago.
Montgomery County.
Montgomery County.
But Montgomery County now is another word. I'm sorry. Ha cambiado tanto que no lo puedo creer.
Montgomery County has changed so much. I cannot believe it.
La policía ya no tiene autoridad, nadie los quiere respetar.
No, but the police doesn't have authority. No one wants to respect it.
Todos defienden a los ilegales y nadie quiere obedecer. Nosotros los ciudadanos no nos sentimos protegidos ahora. Ellos pueden violar, asesinar y Casa de Maryland paga las multas y los saca libre.
Everyone defends the illegals, and we are being victimized, citizens of the U.S. And Casa de Maryland wants to help them without taxes.
Es muy terrible cuando pienso que tengo 12 nietos que viven allí y están expuestos a tanto crimen, porque Montgomery County ahora está creciendo la criminalidad.
I have 12 grandchildren, and it's so sad that they are part of this victimization because the illegals are just growing and taking over.
¿Qué vamos a hacer? Yo hasta quiero irme de ese estado, de ese condado, no del estado, pero del condado, porque estoy muy frustrada. Tengo un hijo que es policía, se siente muy frustrado porque ya ellos no pueden agarrar a los criminales y llevarlos a entregarlos a inmigraciones porque si no pueden perder su trabajo. I have a son who is a police officer. He feels very frustrated because he can't do anything. They get the criminals and they are free. Hours later or days later, they are free. So what we can do now, please help us because it's horrible. Now who's gonna give me my son back? Marla, my daughter-in-law is here. It's very sad to see my John daughter-in-law alone without her husband. My grandkids alone, they don't have father anymore. I have 5 more kids. They are in big suffering. They are in depression, anxiety. It's so horrible. I don't know what to tell you, but please help us, pray for us, because if God don't do something, we are not
Palacios was wanted just a few months before the accident, before he ran over Carlos and Sander. I'm going to tell you just a little bit more about Carlos than what my mother-in-law said. He entered into the FBI when he was 25. He came here legally when he was 8, and he always wanted to enter into the FBI. So a year after we were married, he was accepted as a special agent, and he worked very hard to protect America, to protect all of us. Then when he was 35, he became a supervisor, which is a very young age to become a supervisor in the FBI. We don't want this. This can happen to anyone. And the longer that Montgomery County continues to be a sanctuary county, is the more likely that this could happen to anyone who lives near. You don't even have to live in Montgomery County. You can live anywhere. And Palacios was allowed to drive. He had on his record 2015 2 DUIs. He had driven on a sidewalk twice almost and was charged for endangerment of life, property, and person 2 times. He had taken a metal bar and smashed the windows of 16 cars, set a couch on fire, had possession of cocaine in 2017. So you're telling me that someone who has this offense record like this, and then he's going to run over my husband and Arlene's son, who was a deputy chief fire marshal, then go on to receive a $280 fine. A $280 fine and 3 points on his driver's license. 3 points on his driver's license, so he's allowed to get back on the road. I don't know what country I'm living in anymore sometimes when I look at these laws. You look at me, you tell me. Actually, at the last rally, I was called a racist to my face. I was trying to give the driving record to one of the protesters across the street. And I said, please, would you take this? I want you to see the driving record of the man who killed my husband and Arlene's son. And she refused to take it. And she had with her someone who was white and told her, I will deal with the white woman, and said in my face that I was a racist. And my husband was Latino. My mother is an immigrant from the Netherlands. My grandmother is Peruvian, 100% Peruvian. At the end of the day, it is all that they can say. They can just label us as racist, but they don't want the law upheld. They want it to be a sanctuary, not for the rest of you. They want it to be a sanctuary for criminals, for illegal criminals. We don't care if you're magenta. If you come to our country and break our laws and you continue, it's almost as though they have this elite status. I would like to know who this man is that he is able to get away with so much. It is, it's criminal. So I implore you and I beg you, for those of you who think that the 287G program is about racism and is not needed, our officers want to work with ICE. They're trying to protect you. They're not protecting themselves. Border agents, did you know over 50% of border agents are Latino? Over 50%, and yet they're called racist. It is time for this to end. It is time for us to uphold our laws. It is time for Montgomery County to change and to adopt this 287G program so that officers can do their jobs. Daddy was killed. And so now I have to continually talk to them And they always are looking at pictures of him. The other day, Joanna had to bring in a picture. She's 4 now. She had to bring in a picture of our family. So I was going to print off a picture of me and my 2 kids. And she said, no, I want one with Daddy. I want to bring in a picture with Daddy. So now they don't have their daddy anymore. And like I said, you have to understand the human part of this, that this could happen to anybody. So you just remember that sanctuary laws are not protecting our children and our children's children, nor us. Thank you so much for all of you for coming here. Thank you to Sheriff Jenkins. Please support him in any way that you can. I wish that he was our sheriff. Thank you.
Would everyone now please welcome Arlene Cohen, and remember when she talks about her only child, her son Sander, remember that this, like many other crimes in this country committed by illegal aliens, was a 100% preventable crime. Those children could be with their dad now, and Arlene could be with her son. Would you please welcome Arlene Cohen?
But my husband and I, we suffer every day too, and I don't want anybody else to experience what we have. And the reason I'm here today is because I'm supporting Sheriff Jenkins and all law enforcement officers. All of you people on the front line. God bless you and thank you so much. Sheriff Jenkins, I have the greatest respect and appreciation for you, sir. You bravely uphold the law in the face of tremendous adversity. I want this crowd to know that I am 100% for legal immigration, and I am 100% for protecting all of us from illegals who would do us harm. So case in point would be Roberto Antonio Garza Palacios, who is here legally since his visa expired in 2009 and who killed my son Sander and Marla's husband and Maria's son, Carlos. Now, I want to describe the horror and sorrow that is the aftermath of being separated forever from our loved ones. This will be hard for many of you to hear, as it is for me to speak the words. So please bear with me. On December 8th, 2017, at approximately 2200 hours, 2 vehicle collisions with 2 fatalities occurred on I-270 south of Falls Road in Montgomery County, Maryland. Earlier, a single vehicle collision had occurred that left that vehicle disabled and in lane 1 of the southbound lanes of I-270. Sander Cohen pulled his vehicle behind this vehicle and activated his hazard lights as a warning to other vehicles. Sander then called the barrack for assistance. Cohn and Wolf were waiting for assistance outside of their vehicles and were standing on the left shoulder of I-270, somewhere between Cohen's vehicle and Wolf's vehicle. Palacios was traveling in lane 1 of the southbound lanes of I-270. There was ample sight line distance to see Cohen's flashing lights in the lane. Cohen was able to perceive, react, and then stop prior to hitting Wolf's vehicle. It can be assumed from Cohen's 911 call that he did not miss the disabled vehicle as opposed to having turned
It is reasonable to assume that Palacio should have been able to perceive and react to the vehicle in lane 1 at greater distance than he did. This is based off my son, his ability to stop his vehicle before striking to Carlos's vehicle that was in the roadway. The temperature at the time of this collision was approximately 32 degrees. The roadway was dry. It was dark. However, there was external lighting in the area that provided some illumination. There was nothing that would have obstructed the view of southbound traveling traffic. The operator of the vehicle, number 2, bears no fault in the collision. Vehicle number 2 collided with Cohen, my son's body, in the area where a person would not reasonably expect a person to be lying in the roadway. Wow, it's raining now. That's pretty appropriate. And now it gets worse. Cohen was standing in the shoulder of the roadway when he was struck. His exact location where he was struck could not be determined. Cohen had stopped to assist a vehicle which he observed to be disabled in the roadway. Cohen contacted Rockville Barracks. A short time after Cohen was struck by Palacios and thrown into the northbound lanes, he was struck again by another vehicle. This is what I'm talking about. You understand this, I hope. Cohen suffered significant head and neck injuries and also significant injuries to his chest. It could not be determined which sequence of events caused which injuries. Now, I want you to listen real closely to this last thing I'm going to say. Cohen's toxicology report was negative for drugs and alcohol. Cohen was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, on to Carlos. Carlos was standing in the shoulder of the roadway when he was struck. As with Sander, Carlos was thrown over the barrier onto northbound I-270. Wolf was transported to Suburban Hospital with life-threatening injuries and ultimately succumbed to these injuries at the hospital. His injuries consisted of a head laceration, a laceration of his right shoulder, multiple injuries to his torso. His toxicology reports were negative for drugs and alcohol. Now this is where it gets really sickening. Palacios was the operator of the vehicle that struck Sander and Carlos. He received minor injuries as a result of this collision and was taken to Shady Grove. He was later released. He was not tested for drugs or alcohol. Why? I'm gonna let the sheriff explain that to you. Okay, this didn't have to happen. These 2 men did not have to die. Support 287G. No sanctuary county. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Sheriff Jenkins, and thank you everybody else who supports America and the laws of the land.
Well, I think those are some pretty powerful stories. And I've got to tell you, when Maria was speaking Spanish, I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but I didn't need to. I felt the pain in her voice, and I felt the sheer anger of a county that didn't care. So instead of applause, I don't know if that's appropriate. Can we just have a gigantic I love you? Ready? Hey, Navy man. seat. Yeah, you can stand. Ladies, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you so much. Hey, where's the Reverend? Reverend, you praying still? Because I think the rain just stopped. That's good news. Listen, the organizers gave me the bio of our next speaker. I don't need a bio. I'm this guy's biggest fan. I've seen him on television more than I've seen Wink Martindale, okay? I love this guy. He's the former ICE director. I've seen him on television. I'm sure you have too. Hey, where you going, big guy? Come on, man. I think you know what I'm talking about. Okay, save some for Chuck, will you? Because Chuck's getting upset. I see this guy on TV just pistol whipping guys in Congress. I'm loving it. Because I'm sitting there, if you ever think that nobody cares, nobody's talking for you, Tom Homan is kicking their ass. And I love every minute of it. I don't need to get into his background. You know what he's all about, Mr. Tom Homan.
What's going on, Frederick? Hey, listen, I did testify in front of Congress a couple weeks ago, and Sheriff Jenkins was sitting next to me. He asked me if I'd come to this event. I said, absolutely, because Sheriff Jenkins is an American patriot, and I'll do anything I can to support this man. The funny thing is, before the testimony, we're sitting in the Republican conference room before we go into the chamber, and he says, are you ready? I says, no, are they ready? Because, that morning my wife said, she goes, no, you're retired. You've been retired for a year. Why do you keep putting up with this stuff? And volunteering to testify. But the Republican leadership asked me to testify because they know I'm not going to take anybody's shit, first of all. And second of all, if the chaplain's here, you may want to leave now. Just saying. So my wife says, well, the way they attack you, I'm going to say a prayer for you this morning. And I said, you better say a prayer for them. Because when they start lying about my president, the greatest president of my generation, I'm not happy. So the sheriff looked at me in the room, he says, are you ready? And I said, yeah, I'm ready. I come to pick a fight, and I'm going to pick a fight. And you probably won't get the chance to say much, and he didn't, because you're busy yelling at me, but that's okay, because I went there to pick a fight. I need to tell a quick story. The first time I met the Sheriff Jenkins was under the Obama administration. I was head of enforcement and removal operations, number 3 in command at ICE. And the political appointees at ICE who didn't like immigration enforcement, they were calling in sheriffs that were real active in supporting immigration enforcement. Sheriff Jenkins was one of them. And I sat in a room, I see him coming in, I said, okay, this should be fun. They're going to try to tell him not to do what he's doing. And after about an hour's meeting, Sheriff looked at him kindly and says, well, thank you for the meeting. I'm going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing, and I don't want to take any more meetings from you folks. There's nothing wrong. That's when I became a big fan, because he stood up to the politicians and gave them hell. Sanctuary cities. You guys heard me talk about sanctuary cities many times. The reason I get angry is because the angel moms, the angel dads, the angel wives, the angel children, I've met hundreds of them. These stories, they're sad, and you never get used to hearing them, but I've literally met hundreds of these folks who are living their worst nightmare. Sanctuary cities. The left will tell you sanctuary cities protect immigrant communities, and they let victims and witnesses come forth and not be afraid to deal with law enforcement. That is a bunch of crap. And let me tell you what sanctuary cities actually does. And this is a guy who's done it for 3 decades. Sanctuary cities is a sanctuary for criminals. It's not a sanctuary for U.S. citizens. It's not a sanctuary for immigrant communities. And let me explain why. When you release the bad guy from the jail, the illegal immigrant, he's most likely going to reoffend in the very community in which he lives, the immigrant community. So by releasing a criminal alien from the jail, you look up recidivism rates, 50% will recommit within a year, 75% will recommit within 5 years. Look it up, Google it on your way home. That's what happens. So they're going to re-offend in the very community in which they live, which means the immigrant community is put at greater risk of crime. Montgomery County is a perfect example. 9 rapes. 7 of the victims lived in the immigrant community. So tell me how the sanctuary city law protected that immigrant community. It doesn't. Another thing that sanctuary city laws do is they put the immigrant community at greater risk of ICE arrest. If ICE can't arrest a bad guy in the jail, they're going to go to the community and find him. And when they go to the community, they're most likely going to find others that weren't even on their radar. So that puts the immigrant community at greater risk of ICE action. It puts law enforcement at great risk because rather than taking in custody of a criminal inside the safety and security of a jail, now they got to knock on the door. And as the ICE director, I went to bed every night praying that my men and women go home safe that night. Because I tell you what, and I'm lucky, I retired before it happened. But it's a matter of time before an ICE agent does not go home because he has to knock on the door of a known criminal they could have taken custody of in the county jail. And I ask any politician, including Elrich, I've called Elrich out 100 times. If you went to the immigrant community and asked them this one simple question, would you rather have ICE in your community or in the county jail? What do you think they're going to say? They're going to say the county jail because it makes sense. So the sanctuary city laws are nothing but sanctuaries against criminals. It's a pushback against this president and everything he stands for. I tell you, on the way up here, I was telling Chuck earlier, on the way up here, my phone rings. This is the greatest president in my lifetime, President Trump calling me on my cell phone. He calls me on Sunday. I don't know why. It must be a boring day on Sundays. But he called me. You know, we talked to each other. What are you doing? I'm on my way to Frederick to support a sheriff who's an American patriot and believes in immigration enforcement. So we talked for a minute. He left me with this. First of all, he says, hi to Frederick. Thanks for doing what you're doing. And I got one favor to ask for you before I leave. I got a few more things I want to say, but before I leave, no kidding. He asked me to take a video of you folks and send it to him, which I will before I leave here today. I've been going around the country giving a lot of speeches with the Heritage Foundation. I actually gave a speech at Judicial Watch a couple weeks ago. Then I leave early, go up on the hill and pick a fight. So I went up there. Look, our president, I've worked for 6 presidents. I started with Ronald Reagan, and I respect every president I ever worked for because I respect the office of the presidency, which seems to be lost in this administration. Every president talked the talk of immigration reform, securing the border. They all talked the talk, and then once they got in Oval Office, it all went to the wayside. However, this president, President Donald J. Trump, he's walking the walk. He talked the talk. He's getting it done. I asked President Trump to have the DOJ look into Montgomery County. Because here's the problem with DOJ. I was a special agent for, like I say, a long time, and I arrested many U.S. citizens for harboring and concealing an illegal alien in their home and their place of employment. We arrest them, it's a felony. So how can a county executive do the same thing and not be held accountable? And for those that don't, it might make sense to explain to you real quick what exactly we're talking about. When you get arrested, the police will take your fingerprints. They'll send them to NCIC to check on warrants, criminal history. At the same time, when you get those fingerprints taken, they also get sent to DHS, where we run through our databases. And if you got a record, we're going to know about it. So when we contact the jail, we're not guessing. We have fingerprints. You have this guy in your jail. We got a warrant for him. And most of the time, not only do we have a warrant for him, he's been ordered removed by a federal judge and failed to leave, which makes him a fugitive of justice. So hang on to him for us. We're on our way. So it isn't guessing game when we go to these jails. All ICE wants in sanctuary cities, we want access to the jail where the local police has already chosen to take someone's liberty away and lock them in a jail cell because they're a public safety threat or no downside on that. Now, for some will say, well, some of the courts find detainers are constitutionally in question. Well, the Fifth Circuit just recently said they're not, but even if they believe that, let me say you believe that they can't honor the detainer because they can't hold them past they would normally hold them. If you read the entire detainer, the detainer also says hold them up to 48 hours and let ICE know before we release them. They don't have to hold them a minute past they would normally hold them. Just call ICE before you release them and they'll be there. They don't have to hold them for a minute. So there's no liability to that. This is a choice by a law enforcement officer, or in this case the county executive, to turn a blind eye to our federal laws and to push back on this president on and what he's pushing for immigration enforcement. It's a pushback against ICE officers and agents who are constantly getting vilified by politicians like this, who don't get the truth, who don't want to know the truth. Like the last 3 times I testified in front of Congress, they don't want to hear me talk. They kept trying to shut me down. Well, good luck with that one. Maybe you talked earlier about, you got time limit, and then time limits don't mean anything to me. You can hit that gavel as much as you want. They work for me. They work for you. I'll tell you a funny story. A couple of testimonies ago, I was going at it with Ocasio-Cortez. What an idiot. So here I am. I'm explaining to a lawmaker that entering the country is actually against the law. And the next day, I'm smoking a brisket in my backyard, listening to a little Merle Haggard. And my phone rings, and it's the president. He says him and Lindsay were golfing. They want to call me and say, great testimony. I said, really appreciate it, and how I set Ocasio-Cortez right. And made her look stupid. And I said, no thanks needed. I mean, isn't that hard? She's a moron. I mean, how can you say that? Attack her every day. I mean, because she just put an article out now. She introduced a new bill and wants to give welfare benefits and rent control to illegal aliens in New York and across the country. So I was asked about that on Fox earlier, and I said, well, I can give them free rent. I can detain them, give them 3 squares a day, give them a doctor's appointment. Won't cost them a dime. And put them on the next airplane and send them home. Explain why I fight. Everybody wants to know why. Even Fox called me one time and they said, why do you get angry? I said, because you haven't seen what I've seen in 34 years. You haven't met the angel moms and dads I've seen in my lifetime. I tell you, I started out in Border Patrol in 1984. I was a police officer in New York. I worked at Frontlines Border Patrol agent. I spent 20 years as a special agent investigating the cartels that smuggle people and trafficking people. If you've seen what I've seen in 34 years, you know I'm angry. And I'm just, in 2003, I was standing in back of a tractor trailer with 19 dead people at my feet, including a 5-year-old little boy that suffocated to death in his father's arms because the smoker didn't give a shit. Think about what went to that child's life, what he dealt with the last 5 minutes of his life. Can't breathe, can't see, suffocating in his tent seat in a steel truck. What do you think his father went through the last 30 minutes? Knowing he put his son in the condition. Then I was flown to Phoenix, Arizona, run Operation No Mercy, where alien smuggling organizations were ripping off other organizations, stealing their load, their people like drugs, a lot of money. They're ripping each other off. And illegal aliens couldn't afford to pay their, and I'll use the term illegal aliens, by the way, all the time. He's probably what the Secretary of Homeland Security just said. But when they couldn't pay their fee, because they agreed to pay $7,000 to get to Chicago, then once it got to the state side, now these organizations know how much you're worth, so they call the relatives up. Say, we got your son, we got your brother, we got your father. Send us $15,000 to this address, or wire the money to this account. And they said, wait a minute, the deal was $5,000. Well, now it's $15,000. Send it to us, we kill them. We'll torture them. We'll rape her. And they did. Many of them. Bodies are piling up in Phoenix. These organizations don't care about these people. I remember one guy couldn't pay his fees, and when we found him with the local PD, he was stabbed in the face 22 times. That's how he died. We rescued one guy we tracked his phone, found him in the closet. He was duct taped. His entire face was duct taped with a hole poked in his mouth with a straw in it so he could breathe for days. His hogtied in the closet for days. They just find dead aliens on the trails of Borbish Lake. Just left there because they couldn't make the trip, so they weren't worth anything now. So I guess what I'm trying to say, this isn't about enforcing the law. This isn't just about securing our nation. It's about saving lives. And I try to get that point across to Congress. They don't want to listen. And that's why it blew up on the last time. They want to attract the president. They want to vilify the men and women of ICE. They want to vilify the men and women of the Border Patrol. So last January, I just had it. I just said, no, you're not going to shut me up anymore. You want to know why there's family separation and zero tolerance? Because you failed to close the loopholes causing these people to come. You want to know why it's 31% of women make that journey get raped making that trip? Because you failed to close the loophole. You want to know why there's 55,000 people in ICE detention? Because you enticed them with free medical care, free college tuition, a pathway to citizenship, and you want to abolish ICE. When you talk like that, you just bring more people to the country illegally, but you say you support them, but you don't. You put them in because what you did is put them in the hands of criminal organizations where 31% of women are being raped. That's a Dr. Without Borders number. Children are dying. And Congress ain't doing a damn thing about it. But the border numbers are down 56%. You know why? Because the greatest president of my generation he sent unprecedented resources to the border within DHS, everybody within I don't care if you're TSA, Border Patrol, ICE, DOD, he sent unprecedented resources to the southern border. He declared a national emergency. Even some in his own party voted against that. He wrote a whole immigration reform policy. That makes a lot of sense. He's taking money from every place he can to build that wall. And he's building it. He's the first president I've ever worked for that threatened Mexico either step up or we're going to issue tariffs against you, which would bankrupt them. And look what Mexico's doing. Now the numbers are down 56% from 3 months high because of this president. And only this president. Not one number. I remember I was on Capitol Hill. I said, well, the numbers are down, right? I said, yeah, no thanks to anybody in this building. You guys ain't done nothing. So, look, I know this president. I spent many meetings with him. I've flown on a plane with him. I've been in his office, talking on the phone a lot. He's under attack right now. And because he's winning and they can't stand it. When you're an open borders advocate in Congress and you see the border numbers down 56% because of him, you're getting worried. When you see places like this and rallies against American people, and I'm going to send you this video. As soon as I'm done here, I'm sending you this video. He needs your support. And I told him we're hung up. I said, look, I've been around speaking. I've been to San Antonio, Texas, Fredericksburg, Texas. I went to Austin. I went to Laguna Niguel. I went to Nashville, New Hampshire. I went to upstate New York. I went to Atlanta. I've been speaking in a lot of places. Every place I go to is Trump rally, is Trump people that support Trump. Please keep the fight up. Don't let him get to you. And he promised me he wouldn't. He said he's going to fight the fight because he knows what this is. This is an attack on him. They've never accepted him as their president from day one. And he's making too much progress and they can't stand it. He's breathing under the wall. He's not a racist. I spent 34 years studying people trying to figure out what makes him tick. He's not a racist. He's a man that loves his country. He wants you to stand up for the national anthem. He wants you to fly the flag on your front porch. He wants America that I grew up in. You can't blame him for that. Now remember this, Sheriff Jenkins. I've testified with him. I've been at many meetings with him. I came up during your swearing in last year. This man is a patriot of all sense of the words. He believes in the rule of law. He doesn't pick and choose whose laws he's going to enforce. He's a law enforcement officer. He keeps his community safe. He believes in the 287G program, strong advocate. 287G program is colorblind. Sheriff Jenkins up. Sheriff, anything you ever need from me, you got. You didn't tell me it's a 2-hour drive up here today, but forget about that. There's a lot of sheriffs that believe in the rule of law. No one better than Sheriff Jenkins. I can go all day, so I'm not going to keep going, but with that, I got to take a short video. If you doubt me, honest to God, this will be in his iPhone within 2 hours. So he's going to say on the count of 3, I want to hear USA, 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 and hold those Trump signs up, and I'm going to stand up front.
Are you ready? Thank you, Tom. Nice round of applause for Tom Homan. You know, watching Tom and AOC in that congressional testimony was like being at the Giant on the cereal aisle, watching a mother spanking her kid. You know how uncomfortable that is to watch that deal, right? Well, I loved it. Anyway, also wanted to note about Tom, I didn't tell you about this, but don't ever ride in the car with him. He has the same damn song playing all the time from Vanilla Ice. You know, really, Ice, Ice, Baby. That true? Thank you again, Tom. Yeah. All right, one more time. All right, Chuck, you're going to come up in one more minute. Now, I know you got to deal over the Golden Corral. They'll wait for you. Okay? They're going to wait. You can get me later for these jokes. I want to bring up our next speaker. After that, we're going to have the sheriff come up. We have Michael Huff, longtime Maryland resident. Yes? Come on up here, Michael. An Air Force veteran, I might add. Which means his mess hall was pretty darn good compared to Marines anyway. In 2010, at the age of 30, Michael won state delegate with 69%. And the vote in the primary, and went on to win the general election for the Maryland House of Delegates. In 2014, Michael was named Maryland House Assistant Minority Leader. In 2014, at the age of 34, Michael was elected to the Maryland State Senate, representing Frederick and Carroll counties. Now, Michael, I don't have time to read your entire bio, because otherwise we'll be here tomorrow afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get our hands together for Mr. Michael Huff.
Thank you. You know, one thing they left off the bio, 2 years ago I cast a deciding vote to kill the Maryland Sanctuary State Act. But you think about that bill, we're all here rallying because we don't want Frederick County to become a sanctuary. That's why we're here, because we have the 287G program, that's why we're here. We're here because the Frederick County Council and the Frederick County Executive overwhelmingly, as one of their first acts when they came in, decided to investigate and audit that program, the 287G program. So, why are we here in my mind? We're not here because of Republican, Democrat, white, black, man, woman, Hispanic, Asian. We're not here for any of that stuff. We're here for two things about this program: common sense and love. Common sense because when I learned about the Trust Act, or when the Trust Act came through and they wanted to make Frederick County and all the counties sanctuary counties, I really learned how it worked. And it's common sense in that when you get arrested, they run your fingerprints. And you have to be booked. So these aren't people, there's lots of lies they tell about this program. These aren't people that were pulled over for traffic stops or minor things. They were arrested and booked because they committed a crime in our communities. Once they're booked, your fingerprints are run. Sent to the FBI, looking for warrants, sent to the ATF to see if you've got gun charges, all kinds of things. Sent to Homeland Security. If Homeland Security has your fingerprints on record, it means you're a bad individual. It means you've probably been kicked out of this country once already. You might be a member of MS-13. You might be a human trafficker. You are bad. So Homeland Security and ICE, they say to the locals, hold that person. Hold them for 48 hours. We're going to come and get them. Now, what do they do in Montgomery County and Prince George's County and the others? They say nope, and they let them go. They let them walk on right out. And what happens? We've already heard the horror stories. Horror stories. Montgomery County, 8 rapes over the last 2 months. One of the most recent, little 11-year-old girl. 11-year-old girl. Terrible victim. Another one, Prince George's County, they had a detainer lodged on 2 individuals. MS-13 members. Prince George's County let them out. Ignored the detainer as a sanctuary county. You know what those 2 gentlemen went and did? Those 2 MS-13 members? They found a 14-year-old little girl. They beat her with a baseball bat and they stabbed her to death. Those men had no right to be on the streets. No right. That's what's happening in Prince George's County and Montgomery County. When I said the second thing of this is love. In Frederick County, we love our neighbors, we love our family, and we love our community. We want people to be safe. We don't want any more victims like this. We don't want that there. We don't want that here. So what I want to say, when I want to get real clear across, because we're here because of the Frederick County government and what they're doing. Of all the programs that you want to audit, you audit the one that we send, the sheriff sends millions of dollars back. You're going to investigate, audit, and go after. And why are they doing this? They're doing this because 30 people who are for open borders show up at every meeting and yell at them, and they all have completely caved. They're not standing up. There was one councilman that voted against that. Only one who had the courage to say, no, we should not audit, we should not investigate the sheriff, we should support him. My question is, where the hell were the rest of them? Because you folks, you are the silent majority here. You are here. Look at it. It's raining, all this. You know, the president so much as sneezes, they can get 500 people with no jobs to show up in downtown Frederick and have a big old festival. You here, this is an impressive show. So thank you for coming down here and standing up for our county. You know, and just lastly, I'll say, hey, back to this audit. Of all the things you're going to audit and look into and go after, because don't get me wrong, the reason we're at this rally is because the sheriff's program is under attack by our county government right now. That's why we're here. We're sitting in a city right now talking about the waste, fraud, and abuse of government. It spent $45,000 on a new Frederick City logo that was so damn ugly they couldn't even use it. And you know what they're doing now at the Frederick City? Their government was working on this weekend. They were trying to figure out how to shut down the horse carriage rides during Christmas. That was their priority. Horse lives matter. Horse lives matter. That was their priority. We're here because human lives matter. Human lives matter. That's the priority. So we need to tell our Frederick County Executive and our Frederick County Council, stop wasting $10,000 auditing the sheriff's program. Drop it, support this, and support our law enforcement. All of you so much for being here. I just want to say, for me, this rally is about Frederick County. Frederick County is worth fighting for. We must protect it. We don't want to become like Montgomery County and Prince George's County, because we know what happens when those laws go into effect. We have to tell the Frederick County government, Stop investigating, auditing, and abusing this program. Stop listening to the 10 or 20% of this county and listen to the majority here that don't want MS-13, lawbreakers, and bad people out in our streets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Mr. Two, where are you, Mr. Two? We have any real estate people here? Anybody sell real estate? Mr. Two, you need to move up to Frederick County. Okay. All right. Getting a call, I'm sorry. It's David Bird. Yes, he's almost on the stage. He'll be at Golden Corral in a minute. Hold on, will you please? Okay, thank you. Jeez, Chuck, you got Golden Corral calling here looking for you. Anyway, let's bring up the man who we're talking about here. We need to support him. Sheriff Chuck Jenkins.
Thank you. Now that we're out of time, right? Okay, we got time. David, I'm going to get you back on the coach, but listen, I'm going to be quick. It's been a long afternoon. You're out in the rain. I know you're tired, and the last person you want to hear from is me, but and I would appreciate if we could get the protesters outside the tape, please. We paid. Someone paid for this. Okay, listen, let me get started here. First of all, let me say thank you sincerely for everybody coming out to this event. I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate everybody who's going to the work and trouble to put this together, to bring the equipment out, and really make this a great event in Frederick County. And my special thanks go to all our guests that were here today to share their messages. So thank you all, Tom. You've been a great friend to me. You're a great American. This event is not about me. Please, it's not about me. This is about supporting a very effective law enforcement program, the 287G program, and I believe it's all about supporting the future of America and our quality of life in Frederick County. You know, we're in a crisis right now in America. We really are. Serious measures have to be taken for immigration enforcement, both at the border and in the interior. There are overlapping missions, but both affect local communities. You know, if you don't realize it, and I've seen it, I've talked to enough sheriffs in border counties, ranch families, people who feel the impact directly down there, we are under invasion. Without a doubt, we're under invasion. The lack of enforcement has already created a crisis at the borders, total chaos, criminal gang infiltration, criminality in every community in America, every county, every city, every community. So cities and counties that declare themselves sanctuary counties have placed their own citizens at great risk because they simply don't believe in enforcing the laws. They're very dangerous policies for everybody. They shield criminals from prosecution and deportation under federal law. Now let me tell you something about ICE. ICE, for some reason, people demonize. They talk about ICE with hate. ICE are law enforcement people. They have a mission to do just like our local law enforcement. They're dedicated, hard-working agents who protect our borders and protect our interior. They have a job to do. So that public hostility and demonization has to end. It has to end in the streets of America. It has to end in Congress. And Tom does give them hell down there, I'll tell you that. You know, you've heard the message today from the angel moms, the angel families, and I'll tell you, it breaks my heart. I went down last week and had the privilege of being with them for a day, and just to hear their stories really strikes a chord. You really have to feel sad for every American that's the victim of a needless, senseless tragedy. You know, we're experiencing a level of violence nationwide that we've never seen before. And think about this, think about case after case from the West Coast to the East Coast. People who are brutally killed, the victim of violent murders and violent crimes by criminal gangs, and we allow this to continue, go on and on and on. In neighboring Montgomery County, just a few miles away, now declared a sanctuary county, talked about the 9 recent rapes of children, the majority of those by individuals and criminal aliens who were in this country illegally, who were in jail, and these rapes and sexual assaults did not have to happen. You've seen the commission of brutal violent crimes by criminal gangs, MS-13. In fact, Washington Post, if you can believe what the Washington Post says, last year, 67% increase in MS-13 gang crime in Montgomery County. So do you want that here in Frederick? I damn well don't. Do you want it here in Frederick? So my biggest concern is that those policies, just 10 miles south of us, will have an impact here in Frederick County, because believe me, criminal gangs and criminals don't know jurisdictional boundaries. They don't recognize county lines. They don't read the signs coming up 270.
They're afraid of you.
So we have Prince George's County, we have Howard, Baltimore, Fairfax County, also jurisdictions with sanctuary policies. PG and Montgomery County are home to the largest populations of criminal gangs in this part of the country, folks. And I've had conversations with DEA and agents with the federal government who will tell you those criminals, gangs like Central Maryland. Well, guess what? They're not welcome above the county line. You know, Senator Huff talked about this. How many times do other people have to get down to Annapolis every year and fight these sanctuary state bills that are going to jeopardize public safety and create, again, a sanctuary for criminal gangs and criminals? Now, let me tell you this. The opioid crisis that we're suffering here in Frederick County, the people that are dying here, this crisis is not the fault of big pharma or overprescribing opioids. It's the open border and sanctuary policies that have allowed the Mexican cartels and the narco terrorists to spread drugs and infuse drugs in our counties and our citizens from coast to coast, killing tens of thousands of Americans. And again, we've allowed this to happen. Frederick County, let's talk about right here at home. We are not a sanctuary county, and we are not going to become a sanctuary county. As much as some of these elected officials would love us to be, okay? Or they pretend they want us to be. We're not going to be. So what the 287 Delegation Authority Program does is very simply this. It assists ICE. It facilitates a process in that we don't release people convicted of crimes back onto the streets in this county to commit more crimes against you and your families. It's that simple, folks. And David, I want to correct David. David made an analogy on a traffic stop. That's not the way it works. That's not the way you were wrong, okay? So this is how it works. Nothing that law enforcement does on the streets of this county has anything to do with immigration enforcement and investigating immigration status. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. Everything we do in this program works within the confines of that detention center, within those 4 walls, by trained correctional officers who have the authority to work with ICE under the 287G program. So David, you were wrong on that. So this is the value. This is the value of the program in Frederick County over 11 years. There have been 1,698 detainers lodged against criminal aliens. 1,538 of those detainers have been served, and those individuals were placed into removal and deportation proceedings. 1,538. Of that number, 110 were validated transnational criminal gang members, the majority MS-13. Removed from this county. They're not on our streets committing more crimes. In Frederick County, 5 consecutive years working on our 6th year now, consecutive years of reductions in serious Part 1 crimes. Not only because of the program, but in part due to the program. It's really had a positive impact on Frederick County. And those crimes have involved everything: first-degree murder, second-degree murder, aggravated assault, assault on law enforcement, sexual assault, rape of women and children. You name the crime, it's been committed. Those people are off the streets now because of the 287G program. And I'll also tell you this, because I get beat up all the time about this. As a brief note, there are prosecutorial discretion releases by ICE and by our people for humanitarian reasons when appropriate. Listen, we don't want people in the 287 program and in jail that don't need to be in jail and shouldn't be in jail. And there are protections in place for people who are victims of crimes and witnesses to certain crimes. So all that rhetoric, all that argument doesn't fly. People do report crimes in this county because they know those protections are there. So we've seen across the country case after case where people have been in jail, criminal aliens have been in jail under arrest. Jails fail to cooperate with ICE. They don't turn these criminals over. They're released. More victims, more crime, time after time. The cost is enormous. And many of those have been brutal criminal gang crimes. So inasmuch as we can't prevent crimes to be committed by people that are in the country illegally all the time, we can prevent more crimes from being committed because, again, we simply don't release them back onto the street. So there's no logical reason why any jail, any prison, police chief, sheriff, or any jurisdiction should not see this program as a positive benefit to public safety in their community. No one should ever argue this program. I would even go as far as to say, and Tom would agree with me, sanctuary cities and counties should be held civilly liable and even criminally liable for crime committed by illegal aliens to Americans. So one of the things, listen, folks, let me get your attention. Listen, ignore the protesters. Focus on our successes here in Frederick County. So let me explain. Hey, folks, let them go. Let them go. Bye. So listen. So let me tell you something about the success of law enforcement. A key component to the success of law enforcement at the state and local level is working with the federal law enforcement. Cooperation is the key to success. Every agency works with every agency across the board. So every police agency will hold someone on a detainer or a warrant from any other jurisdiction, any law enforcement agency, state-to-state fugitive warrants, but all of a sudden, when ICE is involved, it becomes a dirty word. Let them go. So all right, have them back, Debbie. Okay, so let's talk about what really got us here today, because Michael Huff talked about it. I want to talk about it. How did we get here? You know what? It didn't have to get here. This program's been in operation for 11 years. Every once in a while, the topic comes up, a little bit of controversy, but it's been a very successful program. But all of a sudden, after 11 years, there's a certain county council member wanting to make a fight out of this. Okay? And maybe it's good he did. Maybe it's good we're here today because now this all gets out in the open. Right? So it all started in a budget conversation. And I'll tell you who it was, Councilman Kai Hagan. started throwing out questions about the cost of the 287. And as a matter of fact, as I sat there, I had the answers. So I fired the answers back. Went back and forth a little bit. The council president shut it down. Said, we're not having this. I said, no, let it go. He's got the questions, I've got the answers. Well, it didn't happen. It shut down. A couple weeks later, I get a long email, about 8 pages long, of questions from Councilman Hagan. Cost of this, cost of that, cost of 287. And I said, you know what? You started this in the public meeting. We're going to finish it in the public meeting, not by email. So I went back to the council president and requested that she hold a public meeting so that I could answer those questions in the eyes of the public for this transparency that they all talk about, right? I offered it up. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to host a public meeting. So that spiraled to the point where, as like Michael said, because of half a dozen people, maybe a dozen people who walk into the council meetings every week and call me a racist, okay, they listened to them. They bent under pressure. They folded under pressure. So they decided, we're going to audit the sheriff. We're going to audit the 287G program. Folks, totally unnecessary. They know it's not necessary. The county executive damn well knows it's not necessary. Millions upon millions of dollars that the sheriff's office returns to the county coffers every year, and she wants to audit me? So this is why we're here today, because now the audit has angered you folks, which rightfully it should. I got nothing to hide, okay? I've got nothing to hide. They can come check the books. There's nothing. Whatever that fine is, there's no fine there. So it's because of you and your support for the program and the Office of Sheriff that you're all out here today. So I just want to make a couple quick points and we'll wrap it up. So last week in Washington, I had the privilege of going to Capitol Hill. I was actually called by some of the Republican congressmen to come down, be with Tom. It's always an honor to be with Tom. And got to spend time with some of the Angel families. And I spoke with some of the border ranchers who I meet with whenever I get down there. Certain events, they come up. So I want to kind of draw this for you where I watched some videos. Now picture this, if you don't think that it's really bad down there, I watched videos from trail cams, okay? Remote parts of Arizona, trail cams. Picture a caravan of about 20 people in the most remote, desolate area of the country being herded